All right, today I want to talk about something that's probably going to make a number of people angry, but that's kind of the point. Reality doesn't stop being reality just because your political faction controls public square discourse, and while it's tremendously appealing to ignore obvious problems when they go against your worldview, nobody ever benefits from that. On the contrary, ignoring issues, or people in this case, just because you sometimes like what they say, is a recipe for disaster. And it's a disaster being borne out right now on Twitter as the platform descends into an irrevocable online cesspit. Let me start with this, an olive branch. The term grifter is wildly overused. Consistently rising in popularity over the past 20 or so years, the term refers to a small-scale con artist or a swindler who cheats people out of money. Over the past decade, it's more often used as a broad strokes insult, particularly against political rivals. But for the purpose of today's video, I want to maintain its more literal definition. Grifters are people who lie to get money. If you sell tonic water and say it will cure impotency, that's a grifter. If you crowdfund a vast amount of money claiming to make a product in the next 6 months and fail to do so for the next 6 or 8 years, so is that. But what about taking something you don't own, posting that thing for millions of people to see, and harvesting ad revenue in the process? Where does that fall on the spectrum? In my opinion, that's also a grifter, because the pursuit of money has led you down the road of deception, unethical behavior, and theft as you seek to accrue revenue inside a biased platform. But before any of you make a final judgment or solidify opinions, let me present my arguments. Twitter as a platform has been through quite a lot in the past few years. After being acquired by Elon Musk in a roller coaster of a buyout, the entire verification system was torn up in favor of, quote, accessibility, for starters. That was like the first thing he did. What was once a gated community, or an elitist club, some might say, was now open to everyone. And soon after opening those floodgates, the prospect of monetization came barreling down the pike, as Elon Musk implemented a system where users could be directly paid for the viewership of their posts. Regardless of your personal opinions on whether or not that's a good thing at its core, the undeniable side effect of it is that the integrity of such a platform will fundamentally change. As soon as people realize they can turn a profit, a sizable chunk of the active user base will devote themselves to that exclusively. Over time, they'll find increasingly effective and complex ways of achieving that goal, and if they're allowed to do so without setback, the entire structure of the website will necessarily change. A great example here, for YouTube at least, would be ElsaGate, where engagement farmers discovered a new technique of making raunchy, inappropriate skit videos targeted at children, which often featured Disney or Marvel characters, leading to a massive amount of viewership in the For Kids section of the website, ultimately forcing drastic action on the part of YouTube because overtly sexualized or shocking content aimed at children isn't really acceptable. That problem never would have existed in the first place without the potential for ad revenue. But YouTube has also had decades to overcome these types of issues, whereas Twitter is only now just discovering them in the first place. And that is where the problem comes into play. Twitter has become what I like to call grifter incorporated, because the systems they employ and the atmosphere they subsequently cultivate has turned the platform into the worst social media space on the entire internet, and it's not even close. To better explain the situation, I need to now introduce today's main character, Miles Cheong, as per the thumbnail. To be clear, he's not the only person guilty of this. I'll have multiple other examples in the video itself, as well as a pretty easy way to identify dozens more beyond that. But Ian is, by far, one of the most prolific examples of this behavior on the whole platform, and he's also very, very obvious about it. Without turning the entire video into a biography here, Ian got his start early on as a moderator on Reddit, gained somewhat of a reputation during the 2014 Gamergate saga, and moved on to American political commentary sometime afterwards, despite the fact that he lives in Malaysia and American politics doesn't really affect him. He's talked about everything from video games to social commentary, like many of us in the creator space, and currently has over 1 million followers on Twitter. However, Ian's not just a normal guy. Oh, no. He's also a perfect example of grifter incorporated, because he lives and breathes the world of Twitter in a way that very few people can properly emulate, though they certainly do try. Now, when I say monetization potential, I mean serious monetization potential. If you follow the established mold, that is. A great example would be this girl right here, Tiffany Fong, whose initial claim to fame was that she just lost a whole bunch of money in a crypto fraud called Celsius Network, which I myself criticized long before it eventually imploded. Tiffany now makes roughly, $30,000 per month, it seems, tweeting out dozens or hundreds of right-wing talking points, memes about Trump, criticism of left-wing commentators, and basically anything that aligns with Elon Musk's personal viewpoints, because that's how you thrive on the platform. Actually, Pretty much anything related to Elon's personal interests has become profitable now. Here's another account, Doge Design, which makes a disproportionate amount of ad revenue compared to peers, and also tweets nonstop firehose right-wing content, Elon Musk-centered memes, and stuff about Trump. However, before anyone starts whining and complaining in the comment section, I'm not doing this to weigh in on the political side. Twitter used to be a left-wing echo chamber. Now it's a right-wing echo chamber. Same thing, different party. Except the discrepancies in advertising revenue are now being noticed. Prominent right-leaning accounts, like Owen Schroyer as one example, are directly addressing the fact that the payout system is completely arbitrary and highly biased. The system rewards those that blindly reinforce Elon Musk-centered viewpoints, and to use a line directly from his own video, it's a big club and you're not in it. That quote is extremely accurate in this case because it is a club of people parroting right-wing viewpoints that only ever agree with, amplify, or praise Elon Musk, and it's a lucrative club where tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars per month are consistently flowing into the pockets of people who play the game and don't ask questions. People like Ian Miles Cheong. Still with me here? Because the blueprint is pretty straightforward. Twitter used to be a left-wing dominated platform, which is a bad thing, until it got purchased by Elon Musk. The verification system got scrapped, a revenue share program was implemented, and now it's a right-wing dominated platform where a small circle of people who only ever agree with or amplify right-wing talking points and bolster Elon Musk's personal ego make a tremendous amount of money, which is also a bad thing just like it was before. Now for the fun part. Using our friend Ian Miles Cheong as the main example, let's look at how he makes the money. A phenomenon by no means isolated to just him, it's actually a prolific issue, but one that he absolutely exemplifies, and that is theft. Just as a palate warmer, here's a video posted by an independent source at 1:44 p.m. on July 2nd of 2023, 1.8 million views, not too shabby. Here's the same video posted by Ian at 5:34 p.m. Same day, 6.3 million views. No credit, no citation, just stolen. He seems to have cropped it a little bit maybe, to try and hide it, who knows? But yeah, pretty obvious. Ian tweets a couple hundred times per day and gains thousands of followers like clockwork, but where does he get the bulk of the content from? Well, he steals it, some of it, obviously, but if you pay any attention to him whatsoever, you'll quickly discover that he often retweets videos from a small circle of other accounts, such as Wall Street Silver, Visa Grad, or a huge amount of overlap with an account called Ketchup Feed. What's interesting, however, is that the bulk of the accounts that he interacts with, amplifies, or reposts are part of this list right here, which is the top 200 community notes leaderboard, which means the top 200 people on the entire platform who spread bullshit. Community Notes, for people who don't know, is a crowdsourced moderation effort intended to help combat misinformation on the platform. And while imperfect, very imperfect, it certainly does a pretty decent job when compared to other systems. And this leaderboard is a perfect way for you to have a centralized list of the least reputable people on all of Twitter, who should never, ever be listened to or taken seriously in any capacity, and who relentlessly grift with their content for the sake of easy revenue. This is your one-stop shop location to find the least credible people on the entire platform, and I suggest everyone use it. Ian is actually number 8 on the leaderboard right now, and the people he interacts with, such as Visa Grad or Wall Street Silver, as are two examples that I just gave, are number 21 and 30 respectively, right up there on the leaderboard. It's a group of grifters and liars who promote each other and make money as a result of it. But still, what about that other name, Catch-Up Feed? What is that one? Bear with me here, because now we have to connect a series of dots.
Throw more dots, more dots, more dots. Come on, more dots. Okay, stop dots.
Ian very often retweets or reposts videos from Catch-Up Feed, even going so far as to directly promote the account to his audience. Quote, "I encourage you to follow Catch-Up Feed on Twitter. It shares news and stories that often go unreported by the mainstream media. If you're reading this, consider following the account to stay informed about important news and perspectives that may not be covered elsewhere." End quote. That makes it sound like this is some sort of valuable independent network, right? But those videos themselves are typically stolen without attribution. Here's one that Ian posted from 3:37 p.m. April 29th, 2024, which was posted just 3 minutes prior by Catch-Up Feed, which came 24 minutes after the original source. See the pattern? Viral video goes up, Catch-Up Feed grabs it, steals it, and then Ian immediately posts it afterward to his own feed. Something smells fishy with that. How about this one? Originally posted in 2021, actually, Catch Up Feed decided to recirculate this video in 2023. Except Ian posted the same video in the same exact minute after it appeared on Catch Up Feed. Remember, Ian describes this account himself as sharing news stories that often go unreported by the mainstream media. Question mark. But now, the two of them are sharing outdated multi-year-old videos in the exact same minute as each other. No, something is definitely going on here. Sure enough, despite the official Twitter account for Catch Up Feed redirecting to a non-existent YouTube channel, there's actually a podcast by Elijah Schaefer, with Ian as a guest on that one, where we find the same now-deleted YouTube channel displayed as if it belongs to him, which is curious. Sadly, Catch Up Feed, Catch Up Bytes, Catch Up Gaming even, and more become a spiderweb of dead links and deleted or suspended accounts. But if we take a look at the archived version of the main YouTube channel, particularly the About section of that channel, we can find the Facebook page. And the Facebook page finally makes it clear that this is not a separate entity. This is Ian himself operating as a page. He even plastered his face all over it as the profile picture. The page that Ian most often pulls his content from isn't a separate page. It's him. Despite the fact that he says things like, it shares news and stories that often go unreported by the mainstream media, what he really means is, it steals news and videos from people I don't want to give credit to, and then I post those videos 3 minutes after. Let me put it this way. Ian has developed a system where he doesn't just steal people's content himself, because that's a bad look and people are understandably getting annoyed by it more and more lately because it's obvious. He launders the plagiarism through a proxy, as if that proxy isn't him, and then reposts the videos to his main feed afterwards, directly afterwards, as in the same minute sometimes. That is called grifter behavior, if there could ever possibly be a better example, and it's indicative of the atmosphere on Twitter, where a large group of shady and deceptive influencers will do anything possible for the sake of ad dollars. By itself, that's already a stone-cold display of the Twitter cesspool under Elon Musk that his policies have directly created. I didn't even mention the fact that Wall Street Silver, aka James Morrison, is allegedly a convicted interstate extortionist who's now embroiled in a legal battle with multiple people after stealing the account that he currently uses and trying to silence his critics, while Elon Musk regularly interacts with, promotes, and amplifies these people. But there's one more step we need to talk about: the advertisers. See, none of this would be a thing at all if there wasn't a pipeline of cash, and while the pipeline of cash is certainly dwindling on Twitter, with major brands like Disney, IBM, Apple, Warner Brothers, and more pulling out completely back in 2023, with more continuing to drop out in the months afterwards, a lot of them, there's still got to be money coming from somewhere, right? Or the grifters couldn't get paid. Well, there is, but it's not from places you might expect, and it perfectly aligns with the concept of Grifter Incorporated. I'm just going to take a second here and play one of the advertisements that was promoted all across Twitter with over 27 million views so that you guys can see for yourself. Here it is.
When hospitals were emptied to get ready for the flood of all these sick people, why it was smokers were the least affected worldwide. Same month, they come out and lie to you saying smokers are the most affected by COVID and end up hospitalized and dying, so everybody stop smoking. This is how disgusting this lie went. You want to know how far the deception goes and how far the lies go?
That was going to be my question about the addictive factor.
No, I just want you to know that if I die and something happens to me, I need you to make sure you let the world know we already know there is an antidote. And then they lied to all of you and said tobacco products cause cancer. Oh my God, we've heard that too. Oh my God.
Wait.
It's crazy.
One question. For anybody that's watching that would call you a crazy conspiracy theorist, can you show us proof and evidence of that?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That was from a company called Unified TV, which has an entire vertical aimed at health, by the way, big air quotes, health, by the way, claiming that smokers were the least susceptible to COVID-19 and that tobacco products don't cause cancer. At this point, I run up against a wall because the normative truth seeker online nowadays will disregard any scientific evidence presented to them by pretty much any institution out there. And when you ask for their source, they'll send you shit like this, right? But smokers actually were susceptible to COVID. Go figure, they destroyed their lungs. It's not hard to see why. And the research is comprehensive from multiple countries around the world, thousands of patients and numerous studies, systemic reviews, and meta-analysis, they paint a very clear picture. And that's before we even get into the idea that tobacco products don't cause cancer, which is an unbelievable thing to say. And yet, that's the type of advertisement being played to tens of millions of people all across Twitter. Just to round out the picture on the subject of advertising, because one example probably isn't good enough, it's not just one example, Twitter advertising is now almost completely void of reputable companies. It is overwhelmingly dominated by crypto scams, phishing ads, fake airdrops, crypto wallet drainers, false advertising mobile games, sex toys even, and AI applications for undressing pictures of women. That is the content that's paying Twitter, and that is the revenue pipeline for the grifters. Let's pull it all together. After Twitter alienated legitimate brands all over the world, dismantled the verification system, and opened up a revenue sharing program, that revenue sharing program became dominated by bad faith actors who plagiarize, steal, and promote false information to their audiences. Meanwhile, the only revenue left on the table to pay those grifters comes from crypto scams, straight up falsified medical content, and borderline illegal applications, redefining the entire platform from a left-wing political echo chamber, which is not a good thing, I admit, to a right-wing political echo chamber, which is not a good thing, and most people need to be more willing to admit that. With a bonus problem, by the way, where the most prolific creators on the entire platform engage in a literal race to the bottom by inbreeding their content circle to a point where nothing can be taken seriously, because everything is grifting. Grifters promoting lies to get paid by more grifters, corporate grifters in this case. Welcome to Grifter Incorporated. I know I've overused the word, but it's true. The story of Twitter is the story of one side claiming power and then becoming holistically worse than the other side probably ever was, while desperately clinging to a perceived moral high ground, which in reality they have completely abandoned for the sake of hubris, ego, and especially revenue. Echoing my sentiment at the beginning of this video, yes, a lot of people watching might hear this and be angry and unsubscribed and bash out a comment in the comment section, but if you hear all of this and feel a sense of discomfort, odds are you're exactly the type of person who needs to hear it the most. End of the day, a platform this far gone has very little options to pull itself back from the brink. I hope it can. I hope that the moderation efforts like community notes will be prioritized or expanded, but I see very little evidence of that happening so far, and much more evidence of the grifter circle cementing its own influence. They all know each other, they all promote each other, and they all suckle at the teat of Elon Musk, who knowingly or unknowingly lets it happen and exacerbates the problem. I guess we'll find out soon, because the cycle in play right now obviously cannot continue. That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below, a special VPN deal, locals and Patreon for monthly memberships, a new website which has condensed articles based on these videos, and more, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, question everything, and have a nice night.